And when evening had come, since it was the day of preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a respected member of the council, who was also himself looking for the kingdom of God, took courage and went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Pilate was surprised to hear that he should have already died, and summoning the centurion, he asked him whether he was already dead. And when he learned from the centurion that he was dead, he granted the corpse to Joseph. And Joseph bought a linen shroud, and taking him down, wrapped him in the linen shroud, and laid him in a tomb that had been cut out of the rock. And he rolled a stone against the entrance of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where he was laid.
For the longest time, when I would read this passage, I would miss its importance. Because to me, Mark 15, verses 42 and 47 were just simple details that were eclipsed by the cross on one side and the resurrection on the other. And I took for granted the fact that all of my life, I've known the ending. And so I missed the significance of Joseph of Arimathea taking the body of Jesus to be buried in a tomb. But when I put myself in his shoes, this passage came to life for me. See, Joseph was a prominent leader in the Jewish world, and he was a member of the Sanhedrin Council. And Mark specifically states, more importantly about him, that he was one of the few leaders that was actively looking for the kingdom of God. And more specifically, he was looking to Jesus to be the one who would bring about the kingdom of God and the restoration of God's people. Joseph's hope was explicitly tied to the person of Jesus. But he didn't have the next chapter to read. So for Joseph, when Jesus died, he was just dead. And his hope was dead along with him. I can only imagine what must have been going through his head and his heart in those moments. And I think he would sympathize with the men on the road to Emmaus who with despair in their hearts said, "We had hoped that Jesus would have been the one to redeem Israel." Can you see the weight of this moment? The emotion, the despair, the pain, the hopelessness. And in this little story of a man who in the Gospels appears only to do this one thing, we see a snapshot of an experience that is common to every human who has ever lived. Disappointment, pain, loss, grief, hopelessness, and ultimately, the anxiety of not knowing what comes next. And so for Joseph, when he took the body of Jesus to be buried in the tomb, he was effectively laying to rest all of the hope that he had placed in Jesus for the kingdom of God. And that was being laid to rest with it. And he had no clue what God was going to do next. The incredible things that God was working out all of the while, that in just 3 short days, Jesus would rise from the dead and walk out of the tomb. And we often find ourselves in similar situations, caught in the valley with the storms and trials of life on one side and the anxiety of not knowing what comes next on the other. But I encourage you to take heart, because even when our hope is gone, God is there. And he will eventually show us the glorious, incredible things that he has been working out all the while.